the decision is going to be made like in some way, shape, or form. Wouldn't it be nice if you were a part of that decision-making process, or if you just took that off the hands of your loved ones, your spouse, your children, and you laid it all out in a document in a legal form and created your estate plan? That's the best gift you can give people if you were to pass away.
Yeah.
Welcome to Money Dates, the podcast that makes money conversations with your partner feel a little less taboo. I'm Natalie Slagle, a certified financial planner, and I'm joined by my husband and business partner, Dan Slagle, also a certified financial planner. Say hi, Dan.
Hello.
In each episode, we'll share honest stories and practical tips to help you and your partner feel more connected and confident on your financial journey. So grab your drink, get comfortable, and join us for our Money Dates. Hi, Dan.
Natalie. Happy... What day is it today? Wednesday. Happy Wednesday.
Thank you. Happy Wednesday to you. How's your day started off so far?
Good. I actually have a confession that I haven't told you until right now.
Really? You're going to do it
in
front of everyone?
Yeah, we're going to do it right now. Okay. So before recording this, I was downstairs in the kitchen, like I usually am around this time, just like looking for things to snack on.
Yes.
And I took a bite of your leftover pulled pork sandwich from the restaurant we went to last night. Okay.
That's barely a confession. That's more of a, hey, I do what I always do.
Wow. Okay. It reminded me of, you and I work from home, like many people still do. Like 10 years ago, do you remember being in the office and like people would put their name on their lunch in like the community refrigerator? And then sometimes there would be an email that goes out and it was someone like really pissed off that someone ate their lunch. Like did that ever happen at your workspace?
Who ate my leftover pizza? Like, come forward now, you cruel, sinful person.
Oh my gosh. Do you think that still happens?
I'm sure. Absolutely. Sometimes when especially leftover pizza, because who doesn't love leftover pizza? People just can't help themselves. It is a ruthless world out there, especially in office environments. And apparently in home environments too, because I know whatever food is out is not safe from you, which is why sometimes I still hide food from you. There's my confession. I hide food from my husband because otherwise he will devour it.
Do you actually?
No. If it's something that it can't be, I have hid things in the refrigerator, like I put them in the back. Or if I know, like, hey, I got 2 bags of these chips and I would really like to eat them over the course of a week instead of one night, I have to hide the second bag.
Wow, you're painting such a beautiful portrayal of me right now to everyone else.
Dan,
love it.
We know this is a collective issue for us, that we have no self-control, which is why we try really hard to eat healthy, like as healthy as we can be, and make sure the food we bring into our home is healthy, because we have no self-control. And that's something we should work on. But so to help my self-control and help your self-control, I hide things. So I know that the leftover food is fair game for you. I get that. And thank you. Did you eat it all? Did you eat all the
No, I had one
sandwich?
bite. I said I had one bite.
Okay.
And you know dang well, after this podcast, I am going through all of the cupboards to see, like, is this actually true that you hide food from me?
It's not true right now. I don't have any hidden food from you. Not true right now.
Okay. All right. Wow. This is news. This is new to me. Anyways, all right. Well, I just wanted to come forward with that. Today, we are going to talk a little bit about like end of life planning, like super doom and gloom.
Oh, but super necessary.
Yeah, really important.
And remember, we were out with some friends last night, and one of the friends works in a laboratory, and she was referring to a patient who had expired. And I was like, mind blown, going to be using that with our clients now and talk about their expiration date rather than their death date or when they think they're going to die. The D word is just so heavy. The expiration date, I'm just like, yeah, like it's so matter of fact. We all have our expiration date. So we are planning for what happens to all the things when we hit our expiration date.
You're not actually going to use expiration date going forward, are you?
Why would I not?
I just think it's like, you know what? Try it, see how it goes, see how people resonate with it, and we'll go from there.
Can people comment? Or I don't know. Can you comment on podcasts or like email us or something? What, if you're talking to either a friend or maybe a financial planner, maybe you're a client of ours, what is appropriate? Like what feels right when we refer to your date of death?
Mm-hmm.
Like I like expiration date. I think date of death is, I mean, whatever. We'll all have that too. A lot of times we say end of plan. Like, can you just tell it like what's a good term? I like expiration date.
When we do like forecasting for clients, like 30, 40, 50 years out for younger clients, I think our software calls it planning horizon. That seems a little too sugar-coated.
It doesn't seem like horizon. When I think about a horizon, I'm just like looking out and it's a thing that you can never hit. Like you can never touch the horizon. I remember like learning that in grade school, like there's a horizon, but you can never touch it. So I don't think that doesn't jive with me. Not really.
I totally thought before we get into the actual topics, I thought when you were talking about horizon, I thought you were going to relate it to like growing up in rural areas or like I give you crap all the time for growing up in the country or the farm. I thought that's where we were going with horizon here.
What? No. And by the way, I did not. Dan always like, you grew up on the farm. I did not. I grew up in like a mid-sized city, but I was around farm life all the time because of my extended family. Anyways,
awesome.
So we're talking about, okay, you go.
Let's talk about estate planning, end of life planning, all that fun stuff. I think we should probably just start off talking about like, what is an estate plan? Do you want to run through like the main components of an estate plan, which we're going to lay out like the will, healthcare directive, power of attorney, and then we'll probably throw a trust in there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you just kind of laid it out. That's an estate plan. Your estate plan is, I would say your estate planning documents are those things, right? So the will, power of attorney, healthcare directive, and then a trust. Now, I would be curious what an attorney would think about this because those are the folks that you need to talk to create your estate plan. Whether you have estate planning documents or not, things will be decided for you on what to do with your estate, with your assets, with things like that. So there are laws written for people who don't have estate planning documents, who don't have beneficiary designations, and we'll talk about all of that. And so it's like, this probably isn't what I should be saying, but like you could pass away. And I mean, this is just the reality. Things will get figured out, like things will happen. And more often than not, by not doing the estate planning documents, by not sitting down with attorneys and financial planners, it probably won't be set out the way you would want to. And especially, it's not going to be nearly as smooth. Maybe all the assets get to the people you want because of the state laws, because of how your state has things written, but it's not going to be smooth. It could be very expensive, and it's going to be really hard on the people that you leave behind. So I just like to kind of like put it out there. Like, I mean, a lot of people don't have an estate plan. And so like you pass away, like we've all seen it, like things just get figured out. But creating the estate planning documents, I think is really, it's more for the people you leave behind than for yourself. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of high profile cases, right? Where estate plans haven't been created and things go through probate, and there's public information that becomes like the main headline of a news story. I always think about Prince specifically, more recently, like Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Like those two high profile cases like always come to mind for me when we're talking about estate planning and like relaying that to clients, because they're like, oh, I remember that, right?
Right. And then it goes, because it's going through the courts, that's why it becomes public information. And then you have disputes between loved ones. Again, it's easy to kind of point fingers at the high celebrities, but it also goes to show like this is easy to look over. But there's things about an estate plan, because at least for the typical client that we work with, our goal is to avoid probate. And just because you have all your estate planning documents doesn't mean you avoid probate, because you can have a will but your assets still need to go through probate. And then the judge will ask, hey, who does this person have a will? Because that's going to decide how we disperse the assets. So you can still go to probate with estate planning documents. Our goal for our clients, and this was my goal for my dad, had asked for my kind of thoughts and guidance with his parents' estate plan because they had estate planning documents, but the goal was to avoid probate. And so this was a big thing that I got to personally help with some family members. And I think it's important for our clients to think about like how this impacts them specifically. And then what other members of their family should they be kind of tapping on their shoulder and say, hey, do you have your estate planning documents done? Because if you don't, that's going to impact me. And we kind of talked about this on a previous episode of like, hey, let's having those money conversations with parents and how it inevitably impacts us.
Yeah. So with an estate plan, like I think we've laid the groundwork, like everyone should have an estate plan. Mm-hmm. And I think getting access to just like a lot of things, right? It's like what step do I need to take in order to create an estate plan? And I think that's where a lot of people may get hung up. So typically on our side as financial planners, we're not attorneys. We can't draft the documents. Where we see clients access or get estate plans done specifically, whether it's through an estate planning attorney. Another option that's really common for our clients is actually through their employer benefits. Mm-hmm. And if you go through your employer benefits, your employer may provide a benefit called legal insurance.
Yes.
And legal insurance may be a premium that you pay on a monthly basis. I've seen it range at a minimum, maybe $20 a month, and it's just deducted from your pay, right? Or it's taken out of your gross pay. And that gives you access to like this world of local attorneys who like have enrolled in the estate planning legal insurance, right? So a lot of our clients actually take advantage of that benefit to get estate planning done at a much more reasonable cost.
Right, exactly. I just met with an attorney last week because I wanted to understand their process. And she had given she was like, if I could say like just general guidance for the type of clients and people that we work with which tend to be affluent people, 30s and above. And she said pretty much now, because of all the laws and all the things going on, almost everyone needs a trust. And she said their estate planning services can start at $3,000, but somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. Now, this was a very specific attorney. And so I wanted to bring that up because to your point, if you have access to this legal insurance, then you may have a significantly discounted rate. Now, if you don't have access, does that mean you shouldn't do the estate plan? Absolutely not. This is so important, especially for the demographic that we tend to work with. Because as soon as you have minor children, maybe you have businesses, maybe there's multi-generational assets, like things can get complicated really fast. There's also platforms that we have access to. It's kind of like online estate planning. The estate planners through those online services, they're still licensed in the state. I think that's, maybe something people don't realize is that when you work with an attorney, attorneys have to be licensed in your state, and that's who you will create the estate plan through. So these online platforms, they're really partnering with state registered attorneys to create the estate plan for you.
So I think there's a lot of different avenues you can approach to get estate plans done, whether that be through an employer benefit, whether you go see a local attorney to actually get the documents drafted. There's other online platforms available. So I think that in summary, what we recommend is get the estate plan done, regardless of where you get it. We just wanted to be able to provide options for listeners of because to me, that's always the biggest hang up is like, I know I need to do this, but I don't know where to start.
Yes. Should we talk about why it's important? We kind of already did, but what maybe each document can do for you in a situation?
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
So let's start with the will. The will is where you will name an executor of the estate. So in my will, the executor of my estate would be Dan. Good job. You
just shared that with the world.
I did. And I'm pretty sure I know who the successor is, but I should take a look and I'm not going to say all out. So anyway, so you name who's the person who administers your estate? And this is important. And this is someone that we in the financial world, we deal with that person because that person could be the individual who contacts, if we have a client who passed away, the executor contacts us and says, hey, so-and-so passed away. You have their estate plan on file. You know that I'm the executor and I'm the one that needs to get all the documents and tell you all the beneficiaries' names, blah, blah, blah. So you name the executor, the person who will have the authority upon your passing, not before, but upon your passing to help administer your estate. The other really big thing that is important for people that are in similar family dynamics, such as Dan and I, young families have young kids, is you get to name a guardian of your child. Dan and I, you and I have kind of been talking about this because we actually created our estate plan prior to our daughter even existing as a thought. Now we have a daughter. We did write in our estate plan, and I appreciated this advice from the attorney because our attorney at the time said, even though you don't have kids, in case you do have kids, let's name a guardian of your children just to have it in there, because it's not like you have a child and the second you have a child, you go create an estate plan. It's usually the opposite. It's just like one more thing and you kick that can down the road. So we have that in place. And I think now would be a good time to revisit those people to make sure it still satisfies now that we actually have a child. But naming the guardian of your kid, I think, is the most important thing, because if you don't, then again, the state will say who the kid gets to go to. And the state usually has an order of operations. Okay, if the parents pass away, then it goes to the grandparents. If there's no living grandparents, then it goes to the aunts and the uncles. I'm making this up. And I'm sure it's different for every state, but your state will have okay, here's the order of operations. And you could have disputes among family members. Maybe none of your family members want the kid, or maybe multiple family members want the kid. Regardless, don't you as the parent want to decide, want to be the one to decide, hey, who gets to be the caretaker of my child? To me, that's an incredibly important decision that I want, Dan, you and I to have full discretion over. And so to me, that's worth the thousands of dollars to create an estate plan, is just to make sure that that is written down and that is law abiding and all of that. So your will is essentially also, I think of it as this catch-all, because we'll talk about this in a second, but the beneficiary designations actually trump the will. So whatever your beneficiary designation is, if there's a beneficiary designation, then no assets are actually passing via the will. So the will is there in case an asset does not have a beneficiary designation. So you'll put in your will, okay, here's my executor, okay, here's my guardian. And then all of my assets, they go this way and that way. You'll list it out. You can also put a tangible personal property list on there in your will, which I think is kind of fun, because you could say my 1912 bed frame from Grandma Fran is going to my... Is that
bed frame actually from Grandma? We don't have a Grandma Fran in the family.
Dan, I'm making stuff up. Just go with it.
Okay, all right, keep going. All right, sorry.
So it's going. I can just put on, this antique or this really special furniture that really is only important to my family, or maybe it does have significant value. I can put in my will a list of the tangible person or property. Jewelry is a really common one. You can say okay, I want this to go to this person, this to go to this person. What I think is funny is most wills kind of create this blank list and it's okay, go fill this out. And I've hardly ever seen it filled out. So I don't know what families are doing that way. I remember when my grandparents, I think this was actually before they passed away, but it was definitely when they moved from their house into their nursing home. It was all of their stuff was out and everyone just got to come in and pick a couple items. And I don't know. It's, it was kind of cute.
Do you remember what you picked?
I picked this gold ring that it was a folded leaf. So it was a leaf that wrapped around your finger and has a ring, and it was green. It wasn't good quality because it chipped and turned my finger blue right away, but it was really special and I held on to it as long as I could. But I'm a grandchild and For those who don't know, my family is huge. So I was at the bottom of the barrel. So it was like my grandparents had a lot of really cool things. I didn't get access to those things. Anyways, so that's the will, right? So we've got the executor, the guardian, naming of the assets that don't have beneficiary or titling. It's kind of the catch-all of any assets that will go through probate. And then the will say during probate where those assets go. You can do a tangible personal property list. Am I missing anything from the will?
I think those are
high level for me. High level.
Yeah. I think, again, like some of the biggest hangups that we see of actually getting the documents done is like what we talked about first. It's getting started. And then it's in the situation like we were in, we didn't have any children, right? So you're like naming executors, successor executors, like you're going through all these different categories of like who steps in at what point for a certain role. Mm-hmm. And not only do you need a primary, you need a successor. And a lot of times they'll ask for a secondary successor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so I think just thinking through all of these things and components of like who you want listed where, I think that's oftentimes where we see, again, hiccups of actually getting the documents done.
Yes. Making those big decisions. Because I think, Dan, even for you and I, if we had to revisit the guardianship of our daughter, it's hard for us to choose, mainly because our number one pick doesn't live in our state. And so how do we deal? It gets complicated. So thinking about those ahead of time is really helpful. And then the other two big documents are the power of attorney and healthcare directive. So the power of attorney you can actually have the power of attorney, or I don't know if it's typical or if it's usual, but they can actually come into action before you pass away. So let's say you become incapacitated, you're in a coma. Who is making decisions on your behalf? Could be just financial decisions. Who is making decisions on your behalf? And power of attorneys, you can get kind of specific in there. But that's the purpose of that, is to just have the decision maker. And then the healthcare directive, I really, really value the healthcare directive because it tells your loved ones how you want to be cared for. So should you become an incapacitated state that you're no longer going to be able to come back from, and maybe you're staying alive through machines or an artificial way, the healthcare directive can state whether that is something you want to have continue, or after such and such time, you can be specific on how you make the decision, but essentially you want to pass naturally, whatever naturally means to you. It can also be things like you can lay out things whether you want to be cremated, whether you want to be buried. So all of these things that, again, the decision is going to be made like in some way, shape, or form. Wouldn't it be nice if you were a part of that decision-making process, or if you just took that off the hands of your loved ones, your spouse, your children, and you laid it all out in a document in a legal form and created your estate plan? That's the best gift you can give people if you were to pass away.
Yeah. Thank you for laying out all of the details of the documents. And I think once you actually get the documents done, there's still work to be done.
Yes.
Right. Like for me, like step one is always making sure copies are available. Obviously, like the attorney will maintain a copy. A lot of times clients will upload their estate plan to our portal, and then we have access to the estate plan where we can comb through it. Maybe, you likely should update your estate plan in 5-10 years, especially if there's any big significant life changes. So you want to make sure that people who you've assigned certain roles know where that document lives, because that document is going to be really important if you were to pass away, and following like what you talked about, the order of operations of things that should be done.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, put that estate plan in a place that's accessible, and someone else out of your family unit knows where it is. So we talked about an estate plan. And then one thing that you kind of heard us speak about is probate. My hope, especially with the guidance, ultimately the guidance should be coming from the attorney, but the desire is to avoid probate. And so in order to do that, we need to make sure that your assets are titled appropriately and that beneficiary designations are assigned. And by doing so, that's what essentially allows you to avoid probate. Is every asset it could be bank assets, could be joint. So Dan, if I were to pass away and we're joint on all the accounts, the account just boom, it's in single name. Like I'm paraphrasing or like I know it's not that easy, but it kind of is in our world. Like, it goes from joint ownership to single ownership. So there's all of these other considerations at play on, okay, I have the estate plan and I have the will in case I do have to go to probate, but how do I make sure I can avoid probate? Because probate is expensive and a long process and blah, blah, blah. And the best way to do that is to look at your account titles and pay attention to beneficiary designations.
Yeah. So review all of your retirement accounts, right? That's where a lot of times in the onboarding process of creating a retirement account, they'll just ask you who you want to list as your beneficiary. So anytime there's a major life event, something changes, you welcome a new child, someone passes away, like always review your beneficiaries and make sure they're up to date. Also with a life event, like I've seen it before where clients will get divorced and then the ex-spouse is listed as the primary beneficiary on an IRA, and then the account holder passes away and then the money goes to the ex-spouse. Like, is that really like maybe they had a good relationship, but I don't know. So anyways, what I'm getting to is just like, it's really important to constantly monitor and update your beneficiaries as you would like.
Right. Because again, the beneficiary makes the decision. Let's just use a 401k, for example. You could have, in your example, it's your second marriage, and you've just got an updated will and you put, hey, the executor and the beneficiary of my entire estate is my new partner. Well, you have a 401k and it's your ex-spouse listed as 100% primary beneficiary. It does not matter at all what the will says. It's the beneficiary. So when these things happen, we in the financial world, we say, oh, there's a beneficiary designation. Oh, it's your ex? Too bad. Like, we have to transfer the assets into the ex-spouse. This is literally what happens, folks. And we see it all the time. Beneficiary designations are not appropriate or they're not assigned. Like, even though it's this automatic thing, we would think too many times we're like, hey, did you realize there isn't a beneficiary on this account? And that's kind of our job, is to help review those things.
Yeah. And retirement accounts are, I'll say, easier to add beneficiaries. Though I think what we see most people miss is adding a beneficiary to like a bank account or a taxable brokerage account, right? Because you can't just flat out list a beneficiary. You actually have to request what's called transfer on death, TOD for short, or payable on death, POD for short, in order to make sure there is someone assigned to that account if you were to pass away.
Exactly.
Meaning and when I say assigned, meaning the account would move into their name.
Yes.
Essentially. So that's a huge area that gets overlooked and missed. The other one with the TOD, POD is a deed, right? For a property, right? And that's something that needs to be constantly updated and monitored as well.
There's a lot, right? Like, when we think about, maybe Dan, it would be helpful if we kind of played out our situation a little bit, but like, if I were to pass away right now, what would happen? Well, we have our bank accounts with our business and personal, and we're joint on everything. So all of our bank accounts, again, not passing through our will, it just automatically would be in single name to you. We have our retirement accounts. You are the primary beneficiary of all of my retirement accounts, and our daughter is the contingent beneficiary. So if I were to pass away, you would take ownership over my retirement accounts. Our brokerage account, we didn't really specifically highlight that, but our brokerage account is in joint name. So just like the bank, it would be in single name to Dan should I pass away. Life insurance, that's another thing. That's a lot of money. We have quite a bit of life insurance on each of us now. And it's kind of blows my mind that life insurance, sometimes people forget about or don't think to update those beneficiaries, but we have updated those. So all of that would go to you. Our business, there's some business stuff here that I don't think we're going to get in the details of, but like that ownership would transfer to you. And we don't own a home right now, so we don't have to worry about that. But like, we have combed through, like, a part of it is just, you have to lay out your balance sheet. You have to lay out your balance sheet. Every single account you have, And you need to make sure and play out the scenario. If I were to pass away, how are these going to get to my partner as quickly and easily as possible? Because the last thing that either of us would want to do like Dan, if you were to pass away prematurely, I don't want to deal with admin stuff. I want to grieve. I want to take as much time as I need. But if this stuff is not set up for me and for our daughter, I will have no choice but to work on all this admin stuff in the midst of my grieving. And that sounds terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In this example, to play on even further, like once the assets all transferred to me, assuming everything is updated correctly ahead of time, then I still have a lot of work to do to update the beneficiaries on the accounts, right? Because I need to reestablish, well, who's the new primary? Who's the new contingent? What's going to happen to certain assets like bank accounts where now it's in single name? Like I need to add some sort of TOD, POD on the account should anything happen. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of work and it's just like, it's never ending. It's like a revolving thing. So I think it's really important to just sit down with your partner. Like you said, go through the balance sheet, make sure you understand where the assets will flow to if you were to pass away, and continue that conversation as like major events take place in your lives.
Right. And the last thing to just bring up, I don't want to speak too much on it because this is a whole podcast episode itself and more so for the attorneys, is trusts. So we haven't talked too much about that, but trust can be really important if there's business assets, if there's minor children. Because again, let's play out the example. If you and I were both to pass away, Dan, do we want our minor child to inherit all of our assets outright? No, like there needs to be a guardian. And so a trust we kind of say like a trust just has more control from the grave. And so it's just meet with an attorney. Just meet with an attorney. Yeah. Start the conversation. Your loved ones deserve it. You deserve to have say in what happens to your assets. And what we do from our seat is just advocate for our clients. Hey, like this is really important. You've worked way too hard to amass this wealth to see it all go to attorney fees or go to the people you don't want it to. Like that would be so sad. That would be so sad. And so our job is to just advocate for our clients to make sure that their resources are spread out in the way they want should a expiration date come sooner than expected.
You had to bring expiration date back in before the end of the episode.
Full circle.
I love it. Well, Natalie, I appreciate you diving through the basics of estate planning, all the documents that need to be done, and just the process of that people really should consider taking with their loved ones. So,
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Hey, if you've enjoyed this episode and are looking for personalized financial guidance, schedule a free complimentary consultation using the link in the description below. Natalie and Dan Slagle are the founding partners of Fuse Financial Planning, a registered investment advisor. The information provided in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered investment advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any securities. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Advisory services are offered to clients or prospective clients where Fuse Financial Planning and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. For more information, including our disclosures, please visit our website at www.fusefinancial.com.